Hi, I'm Jim with Skytone Pickups, and welcome to the Winder's Bench, where today we're actually going to wind. I am working on my friend's Fender road-worn Mexican-made Tele, and I am winding a set of winding a set of brand new pickups, and these will be kind of custom wound. And this is the bridge bobbin, obviously. And what I'm doing right now, sorry if this bores you, I hope it doesn't, but I figured I would kind of go through and show you. That's, in case you didn't know, that's how thin the wire is. And you basically have to thread it like you're threading a needle, except you got a little bit of bigger hole, just a smaller wire. So if you're blind like me, it can be fun and kind of tedious trying to do that, but there's kind of a trick to doing that, for me at least. I think I got it. Yep, there we go. You don't have to do a lot of winds around there. You just want to make sure it's on there and it's on there good. This is going to have hum canceling in the middle position, and I'm going to have in this one just standard Telecaster neck and bridge pickup. So the neck will be, I'm going to wind this counterclockwise for the neck, and the bridge, since we want to have hum canceling in the middle, the bridge is going to be wound clockwise. So that's why wrap it around that first hole for clockwise, that hole for counterclockwise, and that gives you, this will be, the Alnico magnets will be south up, and the Alnico pickups on the neck will be north up. So that'll make it revert. This will be reverse wound, reverse polarity, which will give you the hum canceling in the middle position of the selector switch. So that's how you do that. Now, if you decide eventually, hey, I would like to add a middle pickup to my Telecaster, well, in that case, you'd want the set to be matched. So it wouldn't be matched to this set because this set is basically matched to each other. When you add another pickup in there, it needs to be, if you want the hum canceling, it'll work without hum canceling. It'll work with, you can wind them both in the exact same way. You can have the magnets, polarity, south, north, whatever, in the exact same way. But you are going to get that hum, the same hum that you get in the neck or the bridge position, you'll get that in the middle position. So some people like that, especially for, you know, more classic sounds, vintage, if they're doing that. I prefer, if I can get the hum canceling, let's do it. So that's pretty good right there. This particular pickup, the magnets are out. Sorry, everything is turned around on here because of the way I've got the camera. So everything is actually opposite. I'm right-handed. Everything's turned around. So the low string positions for the magnets are A5s, Alnico 5s, and the high strings are Alnico 2s. I've been getting a really beautiful tone out of that, so I figured, hey, you still get, it's still basically that classic Tele sound, the Tele twang, just a little toned down on the high strings. So, but you can still get that twang. One more wind, that's pretty good. So next we're going to turn it over, clamp it in, and solder the wire. This particular wire, it is poly nylon wire, so you do not have to, you know, with some of the other wires, you do have to go through with sandpaper and sand the wire down a little bit to get the coating off. You don't have to do it with poly nylon wire. It's really easy to work with. You can, the soldering gun will basically burn right through it easily. This is a 40-watt weller. It works great. I love it. I actually wish I had a 60-watt though for certain things. When you're putting on base plates and things like that, it's nicer to have a little bit more heat. But this is basically what it is. I've got this actually turned all the way up. Always tin the tip there, keep it clean. It's very hot, so you don't need to have it on there very long. And just if you're not really that familiar with soldering, you don't want to have your hot soldering iron on anything for too long, because it'll burn it, it'll burn other things out, it'll burn potentiometers. So the hotter your soldering pencil is, that'll make your soldering go a lot quicker, and you don't have to be on any of the parts very long. So this, you just basically just touch it enough. As soon as you contact your solder to it, it is ready to go. So that's basically it. That's what you get. It's ready to wind. And I use the Mojo Tone winder. I love this thing. This is an awesome winder. It's worth the price. This one I actually bought through Mojo Tone. Oops. And let me do it right, because I did it wrong. I forgot to put the clamp on there. There we go. It's a little clamp. So this way you don't have to use double stick tape, and you know this thing is not going to go flying off of there when you're winding. This thing works great. There's a couple different settings. So this is set up to do single coil standard pickups with the screw in the middle. And when you're going to do humbuckers, you take that out and you put 2 screws, one on each end. This whole thing comes out, put screws on each end, and that'll hook up your humbuckers. Just a side note, I know when I was starting out doing soldering and stuff like that, I had a hard time trying to figure out what the best kind of wire was to use for doing this. This is what I use. Great stuff. I got it off of eBay, cheaper than anywhere else. But that's, yeah, this is the stuff. And it's, sorry, it's probably showing up backwards, but Kester, it's awesome. I love it. It's really easy to solder with. Other guys might have other suggestions. This is what I use. So I'm already set up to do my winding. Hopefully you guys don't get too bored. So since I am doing this clockwise, it's going to turn around this way. It's going to turn towards me. So I'm going to get it all set up here. Yes. Key to using this machine is when you're finished winding, it shuts off. It just automatically shuts off. So you have to manually make sure you turn this speed knob down. I don't know how many times I have forgotten to do that. And as soon as you set this up for winding, if you don't turn that down, it's going to start winding and you're going to have a mess of wire on your hands. I've done it. It's a royal pain in the butt. So I wrote down there, turn speed to 0. And I've still forgotten to do it. So I use flour. Some people use talcum powder, but this is for your fingers. And this just helps with the wire when you're guiding it. All this is done by hand. You want to make sure your guides are in line. So I'll take my little straight edge and make sure. I think I was doing Stratocaster before, so this needs to be adjusted. Oops. I'm sorry if this is boring, but if you're interested in winding, this is essential information. You don't want to go too much, but you don't want to go not enough. If you are too far this way, then your wire is gonna start catching and you're gonna have a mess on your hands. Same thing with this side. You want it to be in just a little bit. So this guy needs to come out. In just a little bit from the bobbin, so that's a little too much. When I come down here, I want to make sure it's yeah, there we go. So yeah, if these aren't properly spaced, you're going to have wire going all over the place. So you don't want to do that. You want to make sure that you get it to the right spot. And then you do, I'm all set to turn. You do a few tests, or not test, you set up, oops. First you cut off the excess wire, which I didn't do. There we go. Do some starter turns, and that gets the wire all set up, and you make sure you're in the right spot. And it appears, yep, it appears that I am. The wire just sits on the floor on the spool. You just want to make sure there's nothing in the way. It can easily get caught up in all kinds of stuff. And now we're ready to go. Get a little bit more flour on my fingers. So you just start it there and slowly start it out. And see how it's going to make sure you got the spacing correct on the spacers. It's looking good. You don't want to go too far, because if you go too far, then you find out that the wire is starting to hit, something here. Then you got a whole big mess on your hands. You don't want to waste wire, and you don't want to have to rewind a pickup. Especially Telecaster bridge pickups take a lot of wire, so you don't want to have to go back and you've wasted a bunch of wire because you had to cut it all off. So live and learn. Start slow, and if you start to feel any drag on your wire, turn your speed down and take a look. You might have clipped one side or the other. So it looks like we're doing pretty good. I can pick up the speed. And you can actually see where the wire is going. It's kind of cool. That's why I have this light here and a white, kind of a white background. It's so much easier to see where the wire is going with that white background than if I'm using, just going off into my workbench color. You can see where your little high-end spots or low-end spots. And you just stop from time to time to see how it looks. About full speed right now. working out some low spots. And you don't have to hold on to the wire very tight. You just want to make, you're basically just guiding it, but you don't want it too loose either. Let's take a look and see where we're at. Slow it down. See how that looks. So, yeah, it's looking pretty good. And we're not hung up on anything. That's a good thing. And let's get back to work. And this is kind of where I start doing the scatter. Where you get your scatter line, get a little bit like that. A little less uniformity. So I try to go somewhat uniform, but it's the nice thing about scatter wound is uniformity that they do on mass-produced pickups. It kind of does take away from your tone. Where I don't go crazy doing scatter winds, but because you want to be able to have somewhat of consistency so that you can kind of emulate if you're doing a run of pickups, you want to emulate that run, and you want to be able to have, you know, the same readings from one pickup to another if they're the same pickup. Some people might be bored to death by this, but I love just sitting here all day doing winding pickups. Just makes my day go by. And I love the soldering process. And we're 4,000 winds away from finishing. Something about tele pickups are a little bit more labor intensive than doing strap pickups because you got the cover you got to put on and the base plate, and the string as well. You put wrap the bridge around the string. But I love that whole process because when it's finished, you got something really cool to look at, and then it sounds really awesome. So. A little bit of scatter right there, and right there. We're about 2,000 winds away. $1,000. That's it. Okay. Get that other wire out of my way. Oops, as I drop all the important things. Okay, now is when we go back through. And now we have to thread it through the other hole. This will be the finish. The other one is obviously the start. I don't know if you can see that wire is pretty thin. And of course, it popped out on me, so I'm going to find it again. There we go. First one's always a pain. Where are we at? That's the beginning, okay. Let's do the same thing. Make sure that's down a little bit more. This may not have been the funnest video, and I apologize, but this is to be able to see how everything works, and I'm sorry I got my arms way far down, is interesting to me, so hopefully it will be interesting to you as I lose track of where the wire is. There to go. There we go. Couple more wires, and that one's ready to solder. And then we put the wires on. Now, at this point, the magnets are not charged because it's just so much easier to work with when you don't have magnets sticking to everything. So I don't charge them until I get the wires on. I test it to make sure everything's good. And then, before I put the base plate on this, I will charge up the magnets. Okay, I think we're good there. And that down. And trusty wire. Make sure you clean your soldering iron off every time you use it. See if you can see that. It's a little bit too much light going on there. Let's see if I can turn it down a little bit. And that right there should be enough solder to be able to hook up the wires. So for the bridge, I always do yellow wire for the hot wire, black wire for the ground, and for the neck, I do white for the hot wire and black for the ground. No big deal either way. You can do them both. It doesn't really matter. I like doing it that way. So we are going to hook up the start wire, which is, I'm sorry, the finish wire, which is the yellow. And just poke that from underneath. Let it sit there for a second. Good to go. That one's good. And now we do the black wire. So for the black wire, This is going to be grounded to the plate. So we want the wire to be longer, so this can get bent over and soldered to the plate. There we go. Get that all the way in there. Let's sit there. Bammo, we're good. And at this point, it is a wired up pickup. So that's what that looks like after that. And then I go through and trim off the wire I don't need, which is this one here. And we can test it. So, our trusty multimeter. And we will test the DC resistance. Sorry if you can't see that. Let's see if I can bend that down a little bit more. Okay. So we'll put the black on black and the red for hot. So that's what we got. And we have a reading of 8.93 DC resistance. 8.92. Now that's a little, since we just soldered, that might be a little high. That is a little high, so that'll probably go down. The DC resistance will fluctuate with the weather. So what you have in the afternoon as a DCR rating, you will probably most likely have a different reading in the morning by, you know, however many points. So I usually write down the final number before I wax pot it, and then I will write it after I wax pot it. Both times when it's cooled down from any soldering or anything, and after it's cooled down from potting, then I will test it again. I usually test them quite a bit just to make sure everything's good. So that's it. Wound ourselves a bridge pickup. That is a hand scatter wound. It's going to sound good. Let's just say that. It's going to sound really good. So, cool. Skytone Pickups, Winder's Bench. I'm Jim Van Newkirk, and thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. If you are looking for some pickups, go to skytonepickups.com. That's where I got them. If you don't see what you're looking for there, please sign up for our newsletter, our email list, and send me a message. Let me know if there's anything I can do for you and set you up with some killer sounding pickups, hand wound by these hands. All right, cool. God bless, take care, have a great day. What is today, Thursday? Thursday the 19th, and cool. I think he's gonna love this Telecaster after this. All right, God bless everybody. Have a great day.